Good day, everyone. We are the Group 1 and we are going to present the psychological basis. So, by the end of this lesson, you will be able to cite significant implications of the psychological basis of special and inclusive education, including its application.
Good day everyone, I am the first reporter of Group 1 and our main topic for today is Abraham Maslow's The Hierarchy of Needs. But before we proceed to our main topic, let us first know who is Abraham Maslow. So, who is Abraham Maslow? So, Abraham Maslow was born on April 1, 1908 in Brooklyn, New York, United States. Who was an American psychologist who created the Maslow's hierarchy of needs, a theory of psychological health predicated on fulfilling innate human needs in priority, culminating self-actualization. According to Maslow, human actions are motivated in order to attain certain ends. He believed that human needs can be organized into a hierarchy. When a lower need is met, the next on the hierarchy will be our main focus. According to Maslow, there are 5 categories of human needs that dictates an individual's behavior. These needs are: the first one in the lower is physiological need, and the second one is safety needs, and the third is the love and belonging need, and the fourth is esteem, and lastly, the self-actualization. All of those needs mentioned will be discussed. So now we will proceed to the first or the lower need, which is the physiological need. So what is physiological needs? It includes like it is eating when we're hungry or drinking when we are thirsty, and it is sleeping when we are sleepy. If we get enough of those, we are motivated to do next, right? Like for example, if we are done eating, we wash the dishes, we clean the house, like we do the things that we want to do because we have the energy, we have get enough of those, we have enough sleep, we have enough food in our stomach, and we have enough water. So if we are in getting enough of those, we are motivated to do the next, and that is time that we are now will be focusing on the next stage, which is the safety need. So now we will proceed to the second level or the second need, which is the safety need. So once the requirements of the psychological needs are met, we will now proceed to the safe environment, which is the safety need, right? So it includes finding a job, making a money, or by simply having a shelter. It is the need for protection and security. So, our safety needs are apparent even early in childhood, as children have a safe and predictable environment and typically react with fear or anxiety when those needs are not met, right? For example, is when we graduate college and we don't find a job right away. So we tend to have a fear of a pressure that we might not get a job, we might not earn money. So we can survive in this world without those, right? So adults living in developed nations, safety needs are more apparent in emergency situations, war and disaster, but these needs can also explain why we tend to prefer the familiar or why do things like purchase insurance and contribute to a saving accounts, right? For our safety, we we buy as insurance or a savings account for emergencies, right? It is for our safety. So if we have of those, we are we have the assurance to ourselves that even if something might happen bad, we have those that can help us. So now that we are satisfied to our safety needs, we will now proceed to the third stage, which is the love and belonging need. So what is the love and belonging need? So from the word itself, loved and belong, it includes by getting close to our family, friends, or by simply having in a relationship. So this need includes our needs to feel that we are part or we are belong in a group. This compasses both feeling loved and love towards others. Research have continued to explore how love and belonging needs impact our well-being. For example, having social connection is related to better physical health and conversely, feeling isolated, that is having unmet belonging need, has negative consequences for health and well-being. Like, for example, in school, like as a student, I want to be close to our teacher, to our classmates. I want to share hobbies or share some ideas. I wanted to be close to them. But when we feel that we are not part of the group, like we feel sad about it, right? Like when you feel that you are in this room, but you feel that there is a boundaries between you and your classmates. So it makes me worry as students, of course, because all we know that in a classroom we need to cooperate, we need to interact with other students. This also improves our studies, right? In engaging studying, this is hard for us. But the moment we completely think that we are part of the group, we already wish to be a little different from the rest. So now, if we are satisfied to the love and belonging need, we will now proceed to the next stage, which is the stage 4, the esteem. Now that we are satisfied to our third stage, which is the love and belonging need, we will now focus on the fourth stage, which is the esteem need. So what is esteem needs? So our esteem needs include the desire to feel good about ourselves. Esteem needs includes two components: feeling confidence, feeling good about oneself, and the second one is feeling valued by others, that our achievement has been recognized. So, for example, is I received a medal with honor. So my parents complimented me. So I feel that they recognize my hardships of getting the medal, and I feel appreciated. So that can be also an example of esteem. People's esteems are met, they feel confident and see their contributions and achievements as valued and important. When their esteem needs are not met, they may experience what psychologist Alfred Adler called feeling of inferiority. So what is feeling of inferiority, by the way? So it is a basic feeling of advocacy and insecurity depriving from actual or imagined or social psychological deficiency. So we tend to think that we are insecure to ourselves, and we tend to think of may tag ako na lang siya, like that. So, and now that we are satisfied to the 4 stages, we are now in the last stage, which is the self-actualization. Now, what is self-actualization, by the way? So it is feeling of fulfillment, feeling that we are living up to our potential, One unique feature of self-actualization is that it looks different from everyone. Like, self-actualization might involve helping others, or it might involve achievements in artistic or creative field. Essentially, it means feeling that we are doing what we believe we are meant to do. Maslow believed achieving self-actualization is relatively rare, and his example of famous self-actualized individuals include Abraham Lincoln, Albert Einstein, and Mother Teresa. The final stage in the linear growth of an individual, Maslow believed that in order to achieve these states of fulfillment, the person must first satisfy the preceding needs. So we cannot meet the fifth stage, which is the self-actualization, if we not satisfy the preceding needs. So that include the physiological need, the safety needs, the love and belonging needs, and the esteem. So that time, if we met those four, that is the time that we met this self-actualization, because it is the fulfillment, right? It is being the top. Now, how do individuals progress through the hierarchy of needs? Maslow postulated that there were several prerequisites to meeting these needs: freedom of speech, freedom of expression, living in a just and fair society aren't specifically mentioned within the hierarchy of needs. But Maslow believed that having these things make it easier for people to achieve their needs. Maslow also believed that we have a need to learn new information and to better understand the world around us. This is because learning more about our environment helps us meet our other needs. Example, learning more about the world can help us feel safer. And developing a better understanding of a topic one is passionate can contribute to self-actualization. However, Maslow believed that this call to understand the world around us is an innate need as well. He also acknowledged that meeting each need is not all or nothing phenomenon. Consequently, people don't need to completely satisfy one need in order for the next need in the hierarchy to emerge. Maslow suggests that at any given time, most people tend to have each of their needs partly met, and that needs lower on the hierarchy are typically the ones that people have made the most progress towards. So he said that in the first stage, it was typically the ones that people have made the most progress towards. So the stage one is the most progressive need because it is the most need that met by people. Maslow pointed out that one behavior might meet two or more needs. For example, sharing a meal with someone meets the physiological needs, which is for food, but it might also meet the need of the love and belonging, right? Because you are communicating with someone, you are being close to them. Another example is working as a caregiver will provide with someone with income, which allows them to pay for food and shelter, but also can provide them a sense of social connection and a fulfillment, right? So there are some criticism of hierarchy of needs. Maslow's theory has been widely popular both in and out of psychology. The fields of education and business have been particularly influenced by the theory. Maslow's theory of motivations has not been without criticism. 1. Needs don't follow a certain hierarchy. 2. The theory is too difficult to test. While some other researchers showed some support for Maslow's theories, most researchers has not been able to substantiate the idea of a needs hierarchy. Hammond Wabha and Lawrence Bridwell reported that there was a little evidence for Maslow's ranking of needs. These needs and even less evidence that these needs are in the hierarchy order. Other criticisms of Maslow's theory note that his definition of self-actualization is difficult to test scientifically. Research on self-actualization has also based on very limited sample of individuals, including people he knew, as well as biographies of famous individuals that Maslow believed to be self-actualized. And that's all for our discussion. Thank you for listening.
Good day, everyone. I'm Hanalyn Swan, and I will present to you the John Piaget Cognitive Development Impact of Special Needs. So let us know first who is John Piaget. He was born in 1896 in Neuchâtel, Switzerland. After finishing high school, he went to study medicine, but soon changed course to philosophy and sociology. During World War I, he worked as an army doctor. When war ended, he started studying law and then switched again to philosophy and sociology. At the age of 30, he published his first book, Genetic Epistemology, which received critical acclaim. This led him to become one of the leading psychologists of his generation. He was one of the first people to study children's development, and he developed the theory that children develop through stages. He also studied how children learn and he found out that they learn by doing things and not just listening or reading about them. He also discovered that children have their own ways of learning and that they don't always follow the same rule as adults do. He also found out that children are very creative and imaginative and they like to play and explore. He also believed that children should be allowed to make mistakes and that they shouldn't be punished for making them. Sir Jean Piaget was a Swiss psychologist who is widely regarded as one of the most important figures in the field of cognitive development. Piaget's theory of cognitive development is based on the idea that children go through 4 stages of mental development, each with its own unique characteristics and challenges. So in this presentation, we will explore Piaget's theory of cognitive development and its impact on children with special needs. First, let's start with Piaget's theory. Piaget believed that children's cognitive development is driven by their interactions with the world around them. He identified 4 stages of cognitive development: the sensory motor stage, the pre-operational stage, the concrete operational stage, and the formal operational stage. The first one is the sensory motor stage, which lasts from birth to about 2 years old. During this stage, children explore the world through their senses and actions. They begin to develop object permanence, which is the understanding that objects continue to exist even when they are out of sight. The second one is the pre-operational stage that lasts from about 2 to 7 years old. During this stage, children begin to use language and symbols to represent the world around them. They also develop egocentrism, which is the belief that everyone sees the world the same way they do. So the third one is the concrete operational stage that lasts from about 7 to 11 years old. During this stage, children begin to think logically about concrete objects and events. They also develop conservation, which is the understanding that the amount of a substance remains the same even when its appearance changes. So the fourth one, or the last one, is the formal operational stage that lasts from about 11 years old and beyond. During this stage, children begin to think abstractly and logically about hypothetical situations. To cognitivism, it focuses on how the mind processes and uses information. Within cognitivism, tasks are analyzed and then broken down into smaller steps and chunks. Information is then taught from the most simple to the most complex based on the learner's prior knowledge. Cognitive learners use schema or mental maps to help organize information and tie the material to existing knowledge to aid memorization. So, cognitivism focuses on mental processes which include how people perceive, think, remember, learn, and solve problems. Psychologists working from a cognitivist perspective then seek to understand cognition. Lastly, cognitivism has influenced education as studies of how people learn potentially sheds light on how to teach. Now let's talk about the impact of special needs on Piaget's theory. Children with special needs may experience delays or differences in their cognitive development. For example, children with autism may struggle with social interactions and communication, which can affect their ability to develop language and symbolic thinking during the pre-operational stage. The second example is children with Down syndrome may also experience delays in their cognitive development, particularly in the concrete operational stage. They may struggle with tasks that require logical thinking and problem solving. So, however, it's important to remember that Piaget's theory is not a one size fits all approach. Children with special needs may progress through stages of cognitive development at a different pace or in a different order than typically developing children. It's important for educators and caregivers to understand the unique needs of each child and provide individualized support to help them reach their full potential. So, in conclusion, Jean Piaget's theory of cognitive development has had a significant impact on our understanding of how children learn and grow. While children with special needs may experience delays or differences in their cognitive development, it's important to remember that each child is unique and deserves individualized support to reach their full potential. That's all. Thank you.
Social learning theory. Social learning theory focuses on the learning that occurs within a social context. Social learning theory emphasizes on the importance of observing and modeling the behaviors, attitudes, and emotional reactions of others. He stressed the importance of observational learning, imitation, and modeling. So who is Albert Bandura? Albert Bandura is born in 1952 in Alberta, Canada. He became interested in psychology while studying biological sciences at the University of British Columbia. Most learning is gained by people's perception and thinking about what they experience. They learn by copying the examples of others around them, by Albert Bandura. In the 1960s, Bandura became known for his social learning theory, or SLT. His approach recognized reinforcement and the importance of observing, modeling, and imitating the emotional reactions, attitudes, and behaviors of others in learning. So these are the basic social learning concepts. First is observational learning. People can learn through observation. This is commonly seen and noticed on children. They copy what they see, like playing doctors, chefs, or etc. So they learn through observing. That is observational learning. Next is intrinsic reinforcement. Mental states are important for learning. It is the obtainment of a positively valued outcome from the performance of an action. Next is the modeling process. So learning does not lead to a change in behavior. First, let's go to the three basic models of observational learning. A live model. It involves an actual individual demonstrating or acting out a behavior. An example of this is a teacher. A teacher demonstrates and shows them the act that they then copy. Next is a verbal instructional model. So it involves descriptions and explanations of a behavior, like instructions in books, etc. Next is a symbolic model, which involves real or fictional characters displaying behaviors in books, films, television programs, or online media. Most students watch films or movies and idolize someone from it. They then copy their behavior and such. Intrinsic reinforcement. Intrinsic reinforcement is a form of internal reward such as pride, satisfaction, and a sense of accomplishment. For example, when you run not for a competition but just to be fit, you would get the feeling of satisfaction afterwards because you know for yourself that you are now healthier than before. Internal reward. Just you and not for something else. Next is the modeling process. Not all observed behaviors are effectively learned. So factors involving both the model and the learner can play a role in whether social learning is successful. The following steps are involved in the observational learning and modeling process. First is the attention, the retention, the motor reproduction, and motivation. First is the attention. So the attention is the mental focus or concentration or the willingness of the child to observe and mimic the behavior of a model. So it is the time where the individual would give attention to the model. Next is the retention. The retention is to encode the behavior in the memory. It is the student's ability to store information. So the observed action are stored in the brain. Next is the motor reproduction. It is to actually perform the behavior observed. So the stored observation would be reproduced or acted out. That is the motor reproduction. Next, or the last one, is motivation or reinforcement. It is the force that drives one to act. So like rewards or goals, etc. So there are three forms of reinforcement. First is the direct reinforcement. So it occurs when an individual watches a model performer, imitates that behavior, and is reinforced or punished by some individual. So it is direct. Next is the vicarious reinforcement. The observer anticipates receiving a reward for behaving in a given way because someone else has been so rewarded. The last one is the self-reinforcement. The individual strives to meet personal standards and does not depend on or care about the reaction of others. There is a research experiment conducted by Bandura that supported the SLT, which is Bobo the Clown. So the boys and girls watched a video of a person performing violent acts on a blow-up clown named Bobo. The use of kicking, punching, and hammering were modeled. When the children were then left alone with the same blew-up clown, they performed the same behaviors they had observed. That only shows that observation and mimicking is another way for a child to learn. Thank you.
So good day, the next presentation is all about Lev Vygotsky scaffolding. So first, kinsa diyan siya? So Lev Vygotsky, he is a Russian psychologist in 1930s. He died at 38 years old and graduated from Moscow State University. He also worked at the Psychologist Institute of Russia. So according niya, he believed that learning does not occur in isolation. Learning is a social process guided by interactions with a skillful tutor. So kanang skillful tutor nga iyang gimin kay mao na ang parents, teachers, or someone nga more knowledgeable in a particular subject matter. So next, what is instructional scaffolding? So let's read the meaning to find out. So, instructional scaffolding, also known as Vygotsky scaffolding or just scaffolding, is a teaching method that helps students learn more by working with a teacher or a more advanced student to achieve their learning goals. Actually, theory ni siya ni Lev Vygotsky. Niya ang behind ani nga theory kay ang instructional scaffolding is that compared to learning independently, the students learn more when collaborating with others, a wider range of skills and knowledge than the student currently does. So, these instructors or peers are the scaffolding who help them the student expand her learning boundaries and learn more than she would be able to on her own. So next, Vygotsky scaffolding is part of the education concept or the zone proximal development or ang ZPD. So, the ZPD is the set of skills or knowledge a student can't do on her own but can do with the help or guidance of someone else. So, it is the skill level the student currently is. So, the ZPD is often depicted as series of concentric circles. Ang kanang smallest circle is the set of skills a student can learn on her own without any help from others. So next is the ZPD or skills nga ang student would not be able to do on her own but can do with a teacher or a peer helping her. Beyond that, kanang outside circle are skills the student can't do yet even with help. So, for example, say there is a kindergarten learning how to read and write. He knows all the letters of the alphabet, but he can't yet read or write words. So no matter how much guidance he was given, he could never read a novel on his own at this point. But with a teacher's help, he can learn how to read and write short words like at, boy, and dog. In his ZPD, it would have taken him much longer to learn this skill on his own. But it's still simple enough that he can understand it if he has someone to explain it to him. So the student's ZPD is reading and writing short words, and the teacher who helps him learn them is the scaffolding. So another example, when infants are learning how to walk, diba, they often start by holding onto the clothes or hands of an adult or kanang mama sa bata nga maay ni guide nila. So kanang infants, they will continue to do it until they have enough skills and strength to walk on their own. So this way, they are able to learn to walk much faster than if they were expected to learn without being able to hold onto anything. So that's another example of ZPT. Naa siya kanang guidance ba? So tips for using Vygotsky scaffolding in the classroom. So kita as a future educator, unsaon man tani pag-apply sa classroom? So from the studies being discussed, we know that instructional scaffolding can be an effective teaching tool but only if ang instructor understands how to use it. So first, know each student's ZPD. In order to use scaffolding techniques successfully, it's critical to know your student's current level of knowledge. Without this information, you won't be able to teach them in their ZPD or provide effective scaffolding support. So before you begin a lesson with ZPD or Vygotsky scaffolding,
So the last topic is all about situated learning theory of Jane Leaves. So the biography of Leaves is born in 1939, grew up in California, received doctorate in social anthropology from Harvard University in 1968. Works as a social anthropologist with strong interest in social theory. Here, in ethnographically based research focused on conceiving of learning, everyday life with concern to social practices, currently works at UC Berkeley as Professor Education and Geography. Lived became famous for her situated learning theory, development with 18 Wegner. So the strengths of Leaves is the first, brings real-world experience into the classroom. The third one is allows students to make conclusion for themselves. The third is gets away from teachers simply lecturing in order for teachers to learn. And the last is gets away from just memorizing facts. So we have weaknesses of Leaves. We have two weaknesses of Leaves. So the first is teachers' rules changes from expert to simple, facilitating, and with this grants the risk of students making incorrect conclusion. Then the second one is situated learning may be deemed irresponsible as it has the potential to cause professional teaching strategies to the side which often make content accessible to students. So that is weaknesses of Leaves. And the next we have three main character of Leaves. So the first is learning is unintentional and located within an authentic settings. So the second one is to improve learning by motivating students and by providing a rich context for them. And the last one is emphasize the context and application of knowledge rather than memorizing facts. So that is the three main character of Jane Leaves. Then, situated learning classrooms. So the first starts early in elementary school, teaches independence and self-exploration. Teachers inquire based theory helps steer them towards interest. Group settings promote cooperation and collaboration. And the last is computer center, smartboard, Elmo, clickers for smartboard. Then, situated learning theory is argues the learning is situated, embedded within activity, context, and culture. Is usually intentional learning happens unintentionally rather than deliberately. Then called the legitimate peripheral participations, knowledge needs to be presented in authentic context, the meaning environment concerning that knowledge. So that so we're learning about Leaves. Then social interaction and collaboration are essentials. The social interaction and collaboration, take note is that essentials. Then learners become involved in community of practices. So the learners daw ay nag-involve daw siya sa community of practice as sa Jane Leaves sa iyang learning theory sa situated niya. Then persons becomes more engaged within culture. So the person daw is nagbecome the nag-engage sa culture. Then the last is impact of theory on our understanding of learning or behavior. So the first is project as model of learning in community of practice. Then the second is allows learning to learn. Then social visualization and imitation learning begins with people trying to solve problems. When learning is problem-based, people explore real-life situations to find answer. So that is our impact of theory on our understanding all about of Jane Leaves. Thank you.